The following is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are the Fourth. We are Southwest.
The energy at the ballpark is up, and it was evident in the Rangers' series opening win against the Yankees. There was a buzz at the ballpark for several reasons. The return of Yu Darvish and his performance. The news that pitcher Matt Garza had been acquired. And just the atmosphere surrounding a series with the Bronx Bombers. The excitement continues as Alexi Ogando makes his return to the rotation tonight. He'll face those Yankees next on Fox Sports Southwest. Last night at Rangers ballpark, the summer southerly breeze blew in a Ranger win. They're looking for more of the same tonight as the Rangers host the New York Yankees in Game 2 of this four-game series. Welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Greaves, Steve Busby. Delighted you could join us on this Tuesday night for Ranger-Yankee baseball, if you will. And Rangers tonight, Tom, welcoming back another key member of the rotation that started the season. That's Alexi Ogando.
Yeah, and Buzz, you know, we've talked about the offense not being what it normally is. They're kind of middle of the pack. Well, starting last night with Yu Darvish, tonight with Alexi Ogando, and tomorrow night with Matt Garza, they don't have to score as many runs because they've got better starting pitching. Before Ogando went on the disabled list, his ERA was .293. He's only had 50 or 60 innings, but he's well rested for the last pennant stretch, the last couple of months of the season. Pitched well on his last rehab start. Great to have him back in the rotation.
Yeah, it is, and the Rangers not looking for a 9-inning complete game shutout, anything like that. They want a good quality start that Alexi Ogando certainly has in his repertoire. So we will see what happens in Game 2 of this series. And there is the newest Ranger, Matt Garza, who will be on the Olimar night. He'll be cheering on the Rangers tonight as they take on the Yankees with the first pitch coming up right after this. Is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Don't miss the Ford Summer Spectacular featuring blockbuster deals now playing at your best in Texas Ford dealer. by AT&T UVerse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PICK-ATT. Rethink possible. By Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today. And by Red 2, now in theaters everywhere. Now the Rangers taking the field on this 97-degree evening here at Rangers Ballpark. Alexi Ogando being welcomed back after just about a month and a half on the disabled list for the second time. He will take on the Yankees. Before we get underway, let's head down to the field where Jim Knox is standing by. Jim?
Oh, I appreciate it, Buzz. And much of the talk around the Rangers ballpark the last couple days, of course, the trade for Matt Garza. Talking to some of the players this afternoon in the clubhouse, they say despite trading for Garza, they still need to take care of business.
We have to perform on the field. That's the bottom line. Is we need to make sure that we reciprocate the actions that the front office are showing us. So we need to make sure that we come into the ballpark every day ready to play, ready to win.
That is Ian Kinsler with the Geico quote of the day. Buzz?
All right, Nazi, thank you. Well, Matt Garza filling out the employment application. I think it's already been accepted. Maybe he's putting out his bio. He's filling that out for the guys. Here's the Yankee order that Alexi Ogando will face tonight. Brett Gardner, the center fielder, leads off. Ichiro is in right field, batting second. Robinson Cano hits third. Lyle Overbay at first. The number 5 hitter is the DH, Vernon Wells, tonight. Eduardo Nunez, the shortstop, bats sixth. Brent Lillibridge gets the start at third. Melky Mesa will be in left field, batting eighth. And Austin Romine is catching and hitting ninth.
And the scouting report for Alexi. He's 4-2, 2.93 ERA. He's had 10 starts this year. Obviously, he's pitched well. First start since June 5th. That was at Boston. He's only had 2 starts at home this year. Most of them obviously have been on the road. But in those 2 starts, he's pitched very well. He's won them both with a 1.59 ERA.
And that last start in Boston, we remarked at the time, Tom, that we thought he threw the ball as well on that start as he had at any time during the year. And I'll be darned if he doesn't come up sore the next day.
I know.
Well, maybe he has gotten things back under control with that shoulder and bring the same stuff out here against the Yankees.
The first time it was biceps tendonitis. Last time it was right shoulder inflammation. Neither time did the team really look worried. You knew he was going to miss some time, but it wasn't a season-threatening thing. And there's plenty of time left in the season for him to get 8 or 9 more starts. That's nice to have him back.
Yeah, that biceps tendonitis, really, that's probably the most common shoulder problem a pitcher has. Almost everybody gets that from time to time. And once like you say, it's not something to fret over. It goes away, and with a little bit of care and some exercise, a little bit of ice. So we'll hope that's in Alexi's past. Gardner steps in, ready to get underway in the first pitch. Here's a fastball that's just a bit low for ball 1. Gardner at 278 with the average, 7 home runs, 34 RBI this year. And there is a strike, knee high outside corner. Gardner in the last 3 ball games has been swinging it pretty well, even though he took an 0 for in last night's ball game. The Yankees had only 3 hits last night. 2 by Lyle Overbay and 1 by Ichiro. This one's popped up. Boy, Alexi really got inside on Gardner. A little pop up to Ian Kinsler for out number 1. And we'll take a look at the rest of the Ranger defense filled in behind Alexi Ogando. Angel Beltre is in left field tonight. Craig Gentry in center. Nelson Cruz is in right. Mitch Moreland at first. Ian Kinsler, Elvis Andrus up the middle. Jurickson Profar, the start at third. A.J. Brzezinski behind the plate. And Alexi Ogando, the 29-year-old, is on the hill. Well, here's Suzuki. Ichiro hitting at 277. Pitch for ball 1. Ogando having good numbers against Suzuki, and not many right-handers have that on their resume. Ogando to the wide, the 1-1. And there is strike 2.
Started out at 89, now he's up to 95.
Kerwin Danley making those calls. I'm sorry, Tom.
Go ahead, Buzz.
Kerwin Danley making the calls tonight behind the plate. Lance Barksdale at first. Vic Carapazza at second, and Wally Bell, the crew chief, is at third. Angel Beltre toward the line, and that ball slices and goes about 1.5 feet foul. And Ichiro, one of his patented slap shots the other way, and almost drew chalk down there.
Yeah, it looked the way Angel went after that ball. He knew it was going to be foul. I thought that ball was going to be about 10 feet foul. That almost hit the foul line.
1-2 pitch. Check swing. Did he go around? No, he did not.
Boy, he thought about it. He thought that was a fastball till the last possible instant that he could stop that swing.
That's pretty close.
That was close. I think he might have stopped it just in time.
Now the 2-2. 3-2. Well, Ichiro, a tough out for anybody, and he is hitting second of the order. He'll be followed by the second baseman, Robinson Cano. Just underway under beautiful blue skies here on a very warm summer's evening in Arlington. Payoff pitch, and fouled off to the third base side. Yankees come into play tonight, fourth place in the American League East. They're 7 games behind the Red Sox. 52-47, the Yankees record. Rangers come in at 55-44, and they are still in second place, 3 games behind Oakland as Suzuki fouls another pitch back. Now, it's been 25 days since the Rangers picked up a game, or picked up ground, a half game to be specific.
Wow, I didn't realize
in
that.
the AL West. Yep, 25 days. Matter of fact, the last time when they faced the Yankees on the 27th of June and got that win, pop-up foul territory. Moreland right at the railing, has a play, comes back and makes it nicely for out number 2. Good job by Moreland getting to the railing early, finding out where he was, and then he focused on where the ball was.
Yeah, Alexi just kept pounding the strike zone with his fastball until Ichiro finally hit one that could be handled. Fouled a bunch of them off. There he is going over. Take a look. Knows exactly where he is. And he comes back toward the field a little bit. If it goes in the stands, he would have been in perfect position to reach into the stands.
Well, 2 away bases empty. Here's Robinson Cano, who's a .303 hitter. Ball 1. Yeah, getting back to that picking up ground. Rangers picked up a half game on the 27th of June after their win over the Yankees. Wow. That's been the last time.
Well, best way to pick up games is to go on a winning streak. Ogando, we talked about his last start being against the Red Sox back on June 5th. That's the only start he's had since the middle of May. So in about 2 months and a week, he's only had 1 start.
2-0 pitch. Hit well to center field. Going back is Gentry. He stops, makes the catch. Well, Cano hit it right on the nose, but a big part of the ballpark comes into play. And the Yankees are gone in order. A 1-2-3 inning in the first. After a half inning, the Yankees nothing, the Rangers coming up. Fox Sports Southwest. order in the top of the first. Now the Rangers coming to bat, and Fred Loya. Insurance brings you the Rangers starting lineup. Ian Kinsler leads off. Jurickson Profar bats second and plays third. Nelson Cruz is in right. The DH tonight, Adrian Beltre, also bats cleanup. A.J. Brzezinski is catching. Elvis Andrus is the shortstop. Mitch Moreland batting seventh, playing first base. Greg Gentry in center field, and Angel Beltre bats ninth and plays left. Well, Ian Kinsler getting ready to step in to start things off. Kinsler got it going in last night's ball game by walking and coming around to score.
And Phil Hughes is on the mound for the Yankees. He's 4-9 in 18 starts. Had a season-high 10 strikeouts in his last start. That was against Minnesota. Last 5 road starts have gone very well. Great ERA, good opponent's batting average. He had a start against the Rangers that went very well back on June 27th. 8 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs. Yankees got shut out that day 2-0, but he pitched very well.
Kinsler, a chopper down the third base line. It's a fair ball. Headed toward the corner. Kinsler at second. The ball gets by. And Ian now puts the brakes on and goes back. Ball gets away from Edwin Nunez. But Ian Kinsler with his 18th double of the year, and he is aboard in scoring position with nobody out.
Buzz, does it hit you that you were surprised to see that ball go fair? It feels like there's been 15 balls hit close to the line in the last 2 weeks, and every one of them's gone foul.
I agree with you.
I mean, I didn't think of it until that. I just assumed that was going to be foul.
Yeah.
And it went fair, and it's like, all right, finally. One of those things stayed fair.
It did. It has been crazy. Well, you know, last night was the first time in 11 ball games that the Rangers scored a first inning run. There's a bunt. It's popped up, but it's going to be playable. That is the third baseman, Littlebrridge, has the throw to first. Profar is out. He gets credit for his sacrifice. On to third goes Ian Kinsler. He is there with 1 out for Nelson Cruz.
Well, Rangers trying to do the same thing tonight. Get a first inning run. Good job by Jurickson. Handed the ball right to the third baseman. No way that they could have a play at third. Ian trots into third. Now you've got Nelly Cruz up there with a chance to make it 1-0. Infield's going to play in. They've had a hard time scoring runs, and Joe Girardi doesn't want to give up a run if he can prevent it.
Cruz with a home run last night now has 70 RBI, and he taps one right back to the mound. Hughes gloves it and checks Kinsler back. Throws out Cruz, so there's a big second out. And it'll be up to Adrian Beltre now with 2 outs. Take a look at the rest of the Yankee defense behind Phil Hughes tonight. Mesa in left, Gardner in center, Suzuki in right. Overbay at first. Cano and Nunez up the middle. Brent Littlebrridge is at third. And Austin Romine is catching.
Well, last night it was a 2-out hit in the first inning by the guy that's hitting right now. Maybe we'll do it again. Hughes made a good pitch. He got Nelly. He looked like trying to pull a pitch on the outside part of the plate, hit it right off the end of the bat, right straight back to the pitcher.
First pitch to Beltre is a big breaking ball that finds the inside corner. You saw the numbers on Adrian: 22 home runs, 57 RBI. Quite a month of July. He is the major league leader, or I should say the American League leader in home runs and also in RBI. High and tight, 1 ball and 1 strike.
Hughes in the last 2 years has given up 53 home runs. Only Irvin Santana has given up more.
Right-hander back to the plate. Pitch outside. It's 2-1.
Joe Blanton has also given up 53. So Hughes tied for the second most home runs over the last 2 years.
Yeah, from what we saw at Yankee Stadium, it's very much like Rangers ballpark here as far as right field. You know, being a fly ball pitcher is probably not a good idea in either of these parts. Off speed, it's low. Beltre able to lay off of it. The count goes to 3-1. Oh, Adrian trying to extend the inning. He'll be followed by A.J. Brzezinski, the Ranger catcher. Just underway here in the bottom of the first. Ian Kinsler at third. with 2 outs. The 3-1 pitch. Outside, ball 4. And Beltre takes the walk.
Definitely pitching careful with first base open, even with a left-hand hitter coming up. Beltre's a .312 hitter and a run producer. He wasn't going to let him have a good pitch to hit.
Well, it'll be up to AJ now. Krasinski, you see 3 out of 15 in his career against Philip Hughes. AJ has had some big hits himself this year for the Rangers. Home runs wise, 6 of those 9 home runs have either tied the game or put the Rangers ahead. First pitch to him. Fastball for a strike. AJ with 34 RBI. Kinsler the lead from third. Beltre away from first. 0-1 pitch. Popped up to left field. Mesa backing up a couple of steps, makes the catch, and that will do it. So the Rangers get a lead-off double and a walk, but lead 2. We played 1 inning, no score in Arlington. Rangers and the Yankees on Fox Sports Southwest.
Fans looking for another win over the Yankees tonight, and how about this, Ranger fans? You're going to love this. How about an evening with Nolan Ryan? That's right. You can spend an evening with a legend, Hall of Famer Nolan Ryan. You get tickets to the game, get to have dinner, as well as pose for pictures and an autographed baseball, all presented by Capital One Bank. August 30th is the date. To find out more information, log on to TexasRangers.com/foundation. Buzz?
All right, Jim, thank you very much. A scoreless ball game. We hit at the top of the second inning. Lyle Overbay to start things off, and Lexi Ogando deals a fastball that shot foul down the left side and back into the seats. It's 0-1. Overbay a 2-hit night last night. He had 2 of the 3 Yankee hits. The batting average now at .257. Guy that signed a minor league contract on the 26th of March. Joined the Yankees in spring training, and they needed somebody to back up Mark Teixeira and maybe play in Teixeira's absence. They thought for a week or 2 to start the season. Overbay was the choice, and then they felt Overbay could help them coming off the bench. And as it turned out, Lyle Overbay has been the first baseman, period. Teixeira has just been racked with different injuries and finally was shut down having to have surgery. And speaking about racked with injuries, how about Derek Jeter? The Yankee captain right there in the middle of your screen. Tapper out to second. Ian Kinsler. Nice shin high hop. Out number 1. Now Derek Jeter came back and played 1 game, and Didn't have to go back on the disabled list, but what a Yankee he has been. The all-time rankings. We're not talking about a team that's only been around for a couple of decades. We're talking about the New York Yankees and the teams that the 27-time world champion New York Yankees. They've had some pretty good players go through there, and to be at the top of those team rankings, that is saying something.
Yeah, and the injuries that he's had this year, Buzz, going to make it really difficult. But if he could have played, 3 or 4 more years and stayed healthy, he had an outside chance of being a contender for the most hits in the history of baseball.
Yeah.
It wasn't out of the question. Long shot for sure. But this year pretty much will put that to rest.
Vernon Wells pops one up, foul territory. Coming back is A.J. Brzezinski, and he was asking Jim Sundberg over there in the first row to help him. So he said, no, I want nothing to do with that pop-up. Here's Jim.
Sonny's the guy earlier in the season jumped out of the way and let his wife try to catch the ball.
That's what experience teaches you. You recognize who has the better hands.
I'm making that up. That's not true.
It could have been. Pitch just outside. Wells able to check his swing. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Sonny usually, about once a week, zings us with a tweet. So we got to get back at him every now and then.
He does. 2-2 pitch. High and tight. And the count has gone full. Now with 1 out, Vernon Wells trying to get aboard. Eduardo Nunez, the shortstop, will follow. Ogando into the wind, the payoff pitch. Popped him up. First base side, going out in shallow right field, Ian Kinsler. Back pedals, makes the grab. That is out number 2. And so far, Alexi Ogando, even in fastball counts, has been able to work that fastball in a pretty good spot.
He has. Good effective fastball tonight. He's jammed a couple of hitters, a little bit late on it. He's thrown a couple of breaking balls. Hasn't broken out his changeup yet. And earlier in the season, there were some games where he might not have had velocity-wise his best fastball, but when he combined it with his breaking ball, one of them looked a little more like a curved ball, took a little off it, and his changeup, he looked like a complete pitcher in 4 or 5 of those starts.
Eduardo Nunez just back off the disabled list a few days ago. He is up there with that .234 average. No home runs, 8 driven in. Had a good rip of that fastball, fouls it straight back to the screen.
Alexi's been an unusually valuable guy to have. He's at times been a shutdown setup reliever who could, given the opportunity, have been a closer. He's had 40 starts as a Ranger.
Well, there's a bunt. That's a good one. Profar, even if he comes up with it cleanly, has no chance to get Nunez. Profar playing way back at third, and Nunez dropped down a dandy bunt.
It's a good bunt. It has a lot more value when there's nobody out. With the guys coming up after him, really not extra base threats there. It's going to take a couple of hits to score him anyway, unless he tries to steal second base. So it's a good bunt. You get a base runner, but with 2 outs, doesn't have quite as much value to it. But getting back to Ogando, Ogando's had 40 starts as a Ranger. He's made the All-Star team as a starter, and he's gone 17-10 in those 40 starts. So whatever role he's been given, he's excelled at it.
Now facing Brent Lillibridge. And a toss to first will drive Nunez back. Lillibridge acquired last month from the Chicago Cubs. Batting .167. Ogando checking first. And the pitch to Lillibridge is high for ball 1. So with a bunt like Nunez laid down, Tom, are you saying that with 2 outs now, to make that effective, he's got to be able to steal second to get the scoring position?
I kind of feel that way. With 2 outs, I've heard managers say, I really don't want you to bunt. I'd rather have you try to get an extra base hit and get into scoring position.
In the air, right center field. Gentry started back, now comes on. Coming on is Cruz. A dive, and he's got it.
Wow.
What a play by Nelly Cruz. A full-out dive, taking it right off the top of the turf.
That might be his best catch of the year right there.
Nelson Cruz throwing out some all-star type leather. And the inning has come to a close. No runs, a hit, and nothing across thanks to that great catch by Nelson Cruz. Scoreless after 1.5. Because of this catch by Nelly Cruz.
Well, he needed every single inch to try to dive for that ball. And I guess the question is, does he catch it? Let's see. It might have been trapped.
Yeah, it looked like he tried to come out.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Well, the important thing is Vic Carapazza, the second base umpire, said he caught it.
Yeah, Vic didn't have the benefit of this replay they were watching. Is it on the ground right there?
I don't know. Hard to tell.
Must not have been, or he would have called it a hit.
Elvis Andrus lofts a fly ball shallow right field toward the line, and Ichiro over there to make the catch. That is out number 1. Now Mitch Moreland coming up. Hey, it's time for our AT&T Twitter poll for you in honor of National Hot Dog Day. What do you like on your hot dog? And you go to Twitter and give us your answer. If it's ketchup only, it's hashtag FS ketchup. Mustard, hashtag FS mustard. Or relish or onion. Or if you want to go all out boomstick, it's hashtag FS boomstick.
What about a combination of all those?
I think that's the boomstick.
That's the boomstick.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's everything.
Combination. That's whatever you could possibly conceive of on your dog.
And then more.
I was reading today about some of the new food items that we've got.
Yeah.
Man, those are some fancy stuff. Is it elk burger?
Elk burger, yeah, that was the Mitch burger.
Man.
Speaking of Mitch, here is Mitch Moreland. So there are your 4 choices plus the combo platter. And there's where the combo platter is
the boomstick.
served.
I didn't know you could get a mini boomstick. Just noticed that on that.
A mini boomstick
list of items available there. Yeah, look, mini boomstick.
You're right.
Sausage slugger. I didn't know they had that. Tom Verducci still has the best line of the year on the food, though. When they asked him which item he liked the best in our ballpark, he said, I got to go with a boomstick. Any food item that comes with a piece of luggage to carry it has to be the best item. It is funny when you watch a guy walk away with a boomstick. He's got that little cardboard box that he carries with a handle on it. The equivalent of 5 jumbo hot dogs.
Hughes with a 2-2 pitch, and Moreland able to lay off. It is 3 balls and 2 strikes. So Mitch hitting 7th, trying to get aboard. Greg Gentry, the Rangers center fielder, will be next. Scoreless here in the bottom of the second. Each ball club with one hit. Rangers trying to build on last night's 3-0 win. Chopper down the first baseline. It is a foul ball. And Mitch will come back and try it again at 3-2. Moreland, 256 with the average. Saw 13 home runs, 38 RBI, but since he has come back off the disabled list, only one home run. Which has had a decided power outage. Batting average hasn't fared very well either. Hughes again with a payoff pitch. Outside, ball 4. And Moreland is aboard with one out. Second walk issued by Hughes. That'll bring up Craig Gentry.
Yeah, Hughes is generally a guy with excellent control. Since 2009, he's walked 2 or fewer in 81 out of 100 starts. So command is generally not an issue for him.
Probably a little bit wary of left-handed hitters in this ballpark.
I would think so, yeah.
He's had trouble against left-handers overall. Almost 300 is what the left-handers have hit against him. But in this ballpark, too, with a kind of a short porch, he's not going to give in to him very much. Here's a pitch outside to Craig Gentry, who's batting .225 with a home run and 10 driven in. Gentry checking with Gary Pettis down at third. See if Ron Washington wants to get a little action going here in the second inning. Outside, it's 2-0. And now Romine going to go out and say something to Philip Hughes. Now Hughes, he just doesn't walk people. I mean, that's just his MO. He may give up home runs and he may give up multi-run home runs. But Joe Girardi will tell you the one thing he doesn't do is beat himself by walking people. Averages right at 2 walks per 9 innings. Not yes to Romine's series of signs to first for one. The return in time, and that will do it. So Gentry rounds into a 3-6-3 double play, and the one-out walker, Mitch Moreland, is erased. On to the third, scoreless in Arlington. Top of the third inning, and joining us, as he always does on Tuesday evenings here at home, Nolan Ryan, the Rangers CEO. Nolan, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us this evening.
Oh, glad to be. Looks like it's shaping up to be a good game. Ogando's throwing well.
Nice to see him come back. You know, you hate to see a guy go on the disabled list, but when you have somebody like Alexi come back off the list and throw looking like every bit of being healthy. That gives you a pretty big boost.
Well, it really does. He's throwing free and easy. He's got a lot of life on his fastball, and the slider's good. And what you hope is that he gets through this outing and doesn't have any reoccurring problems.
Yeah, Tom and I were talking about the last time we saw him pitch in Boston. Really thought he threw the ball great, and I'll be darned if he didn't come up sore the next day and have to go back on the disabled list.
Yeah, I agree, and I was surprised when he did.
And the other big news, I guess, fortifying that rotation, the acquisition of Matt Garza, and that's got to be a big shot in the arm, too, for the club.
Well, it really is. You're bringing in a veteran presence, somebody that's a real competitor that is throwing awfully well, and so what you hope is that he comes in and eats a lot of innings like he's capable of doing.
You know, Nolan, you and I have had a discussion several times about mound presence, one of your favorite phrases about a guy's attitude that he projects on the mound. You never have to worry about Matt Garza and lack of mound presence, do you?
No, I agree. You know, boy, he has it, and the hitters notice it, and I think that says a lot about him as a competitor.
No, Nolan, how hard when you make, as an organization, that kind of a decision to decide whether or not you want to give up the quality young players that it takes to make a trade at the trade deadline? That's not always an easy choice.
No, it isn't. You know, as you well know, that's tough to do, and mainly it's kids that you like in your system and that are important to you, and you project them to have major league careers. And C.J. Edwards, I really like that kid. I saw him in spring training, and he's special, and obviously the Cubs realize that.
You know, Melky Mesa leading off the top of the third inning, a bolt to center field.
Well, he got him to swing and miss at the first two fastballs, mixed in a few breaking balls, and then he ripped that fastball.
Yeah, he really did. He pulled that one slider down the line foul, and I thought he'd come back with fastball low and away and get him, but it sure didn't work out that way.
You know, I know, and we talk about you know, the Rangers being able to take care of the injury bug pretty well, not completely, but you look at this Yankee lineup, and if you have problems, there's an appeal at first, and first base umpire down there, Lance Barksdale, said no, he touched the bag going around. But you look at this Yankee lineup, and with the exception of Robinson Cano and maybe Brett Gardner, it's hard to recognize most of the guys that they put out there.
Well, it really is, and if you think about the veteran players that they have on the disabled list and where they are in their career, you don't get too excited about that Yankee ball club. They're going to have to be a club that starts developing.
Well, the Yankees draw first blood here. Is going the other way. Austin Romine tucked one right inside the bag down the right field line. So he gets the RBI, his fourth run driven into the year, his fifth double, and the Yankees jump on top 1-0.
Yeah, Romine only hitting 158, and all he's trying to do here is hit the ball to the right side on the ground. He got a hanging slider, it looked like, something high without much on it.
Yeah, he did. That ball was up, and it was a good pitch for him trying to go that way to work with, and he did, and just barely got it inside that bag.
So Mesa scores. Romine at second base now. Same situation with nobody out. And Brett Gardner, the center fielder, up there, having popped out his first time up. Mitch Moreland creeping down the line from first as Gardner takes a strike. Visiting with Rangers CEO Nolan Ryan. And Nolan, it's probably tough unless you happen to have a crystal ball that's working properly today. But between now and the trading deadline, which is another 8 days, do you anticipate another move possibly for the ball club?
Well, it's hard to say we anticipate a move. We're going to certainly look at all the opportunities to find a hitter, somebody that can step into our lineup and help us, and preferably a right-handed hitter. But, you know, there's so few of them out there, and there's a lot of competition for them, and the asking price is awful steep. So, you know, it's just hard to say if that's going to happen. But, you know, the baseball department may get creative and talk to somebody and offer something that somebody hadn't planned on moving this time of year, maybe waiting the off season and something develops. So you just really never know. But I can guarantee you between now and the deadline, they're going to be working really hard to try to see if they can't strengthen the ball club.
Well, Gardner's up in a situation where he has man on second, nobody out, trying to get the guy to third base. Gets the ball on the left side of the infield and got away with it. Shot it right by Beltre for a base hit.
And check swing by Ichiro, and he takes it a bit low. So runners at the corners. Profar had been playing up at third, just in front of the cut of the grass.
I said Beltre, obviously.
Well, you're as bad as I am, Tom. That's what you just automatically assume.
I know.
And that's what I was thinking until he dove for that ball, and then I realized it was Profar.
Well, you're ahead of me. I watched him dive and still thought it was Beltre.
Yeah, but you're a little further away from the field than I am. I can't blame it on age because we're both the same age.
Yeah, that's true. I'll think of something to blame it on.
Yeah, Tom, there was Adrian.
Okay, good. Now I know the difference.
Okay. He was kind of watching down there in the dugout with his hat off.
I guess the point is not who dove. The fact that Gardner really didn't do much to try to move him over to third base and got away with it.
Well, how about that catch Suzuki made last night? That's about as good a catch as you see for a fellow his age. That was amazing.
It was. That was a great play.
It really was.
He still covers an awful lot of ground out there.
Yeah, he really does, you know, and it's amazing how flexible he is and how well he runs, and the way he covers the outfield, he still gets a good jump on the ball.
Yeah, a little conference on the mound. Ichiro waiting at the plate as Ogando comes set. Long look, and now a toss to first. Gardner back. There's the catch we were talking about last night off the bat of Giovanni Soto. Well, Ichiro going headlong into that padding after making a great grab. One pitch. He's going to have to go back and get a new wand. He just had that one snapped off in his hand.
It's amazing how many broken bats we see. And I mean, there's shattered jobs where I don't remember pitchers living on the handles like they do nowadays.
And the handles aren't exactly as strong as they used to be.
No, they aren't. You used to take a lot pretty when you jam somebody.
Yeah. You know, those guys who were swinging 40-ounce bats that were, I think, 3/4 oak. Pretty tough to break.
Yeah.
1-2. Ogando. A check of the runners. Slap towards short. Diving stop by Elvis. The throw to second, not in time. In to score is Romine. Everybody else is safe. An infield RBI single by Ichiro Suzuki. And the Yankees take a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, it didn't matter whether Ian caught that ball or not. Gardner, with his speed, was going to be safe at second base anyway.
So Alexi has come out here in the third inning and just not had much go right for it.
It's been 3 ground balls that have just eluded fielders. Starting with Romine's down one line and Gardner's down another line, and that went just a little too far to Elvis's right. I'd have to bet that Ichiro has led the league in infield hits every year he's been in the big leagues.
I would say that's a pretty good guess.
So still nobody out. Runners at first and second. Robinson Cano, who lined out to center, back in the first inning, will come up, and now time called. As Cano felt Ogando taking a little too much time. Well, the one guy in the order, too, you want to be careful with. Even though you have nobody out and a couple runners on, Cano can put a charge into a ball as well as anybody. Fouled back. It is 0-1. Nolan, did you get a chance to see any of Colby Lewis' outing so far?
No, I didn't. The reports I'm getting, and is that it's getting better, and so I think people are more optimistic about the progress he's making versus where they were maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
It sounds like Colby and Matt Harrison are about neck and neck as far as when they anticipate they're going to get back into action.
Yeah, I think so. And now obviously with Matt and Colby too, when people are rehabbing, you just you can't get too anxious about it and expect too much, because as we well know, there's always some types of setbacks. But what you hope is that they both stay on course like they are, and the medical staff is feeling real good about the progress both of them are making right now.
Nolan, I don't want to change the subject, but Buzz and I were talking about the food items. Have you tried the new elk burger?
No, I haven't.
How about the boomstick?
No, I've had the hot dog, but I haven't had the boomstick. I can't bring myself to go there.
Gentry in a hurry, slides, and comes up with it. Picking it right off the shoe tops. Craig Gentry started backhand to make a mid-course correction, and he takes care of over-base sinking line drive. Nolan, thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Okay,
thanks,
guys.
Nolan.
Thanks. Yeah.
We go to the bottom of the third. Yankees on top, 2-0. You buy your Texas Ford dealer. Don't miss the Ford Summer Spectacular featuring blockbuster deals. Now playing at your best in Texas Ford dealer. And by Jack in the Box. Now's your chance to go big with Jack's Big Stack Burger. Well, the Rangers playing from behind now. They trail 2-0 as we head to the bottom of the third. Angel Beltre leading things off, and he takes a strike from Phil Hughes. Beltre getting the start in left field tonight. It's kind of a rematch of Angel Beltre's first starting assignment. That was in Yankee Stadium against the Yankees and against Phil Hughes. And his first plate appearance, got his first major league hit against Hughes.
He got a base hit to drive in a run that day on a breaking ball that was only about 6 inches off the ground.
Takes a strike here, and it's 1-2. Beltre, minimal number of appearances, though. Only 3 in the last 14 ball games for the club. Fouls this one straight back. And it's still a ball and 2 strikes. Angel called up from AAA Round Rock back on the 23rd of June. Hughes to the line. Pitch line down the right field line. It is into the corner. A fair ball. Beltre turning on the jet, steaming into second. He is in safely with a stand-up double.
The Rangers had a leadoff double in the first and couldn't get him home. Now you've got a leadoff double top of the order coming up. Beltre took a couple of fastballs that he wasn't able to pull the trigger on, got a breaking ball and just ripped it right down the right field line. So taking advantage of his start tonight. Nice swing. High leg kick.
Able to keep that fair going down the line, too. Well, the Rangers now with a couple of hits. They have both been doubles. And Ian Kinsler, who possesses the other double, is at the plate. Trying to get Beltre at least over to third. And Ian fouling it off to the right as he tried to take the ball that way. Kinsler, as you can see, at 283 with the average. Yankees put 4 hits together in the third inning. Got a couple of runs out of it. As a matter of fact, Alexio Gondo had to do some fancy pitching to avoid more damage. There's a strike to the inside corner to Kinsler. It's 0-2. Alexi had runners at first and second, 2 runs across, and still nobody out. Was able to get the double play grounder out of Cano and got out of the inning. Nice sliding catch by Craig Gentry in center field. Breaking ball, and Kinsler able to check his swing. 1-2 the count. Angel Beltre establishing his lead out there at the bottom of your screen. He's at second base. 1-2 pitch from Hughes. Line to right field. Suzuki coming on. Makes the catch. And Beltre, who had started a couple of steps to third, had no chance to get back and tag up. Well, he's forced to stay there. Suzuki got the ball back in quickly.
It was a good attempt by Ian. Right up, even with 2 strikes, he's trying to hit the ball to the right side to move the runner. Not much you can do about it when you hit the ball like this. He hit a line drive right straight at Suzuki. A little bit one way or the other. It's another extra base hit.
Now, one gone. Jurickson Profar, who had a sacrifice bunt his first time up there. A little step to the plate. The switch hitter up there from the left side. Profar had a 2-run home, or had a solo home run against Phil Hughes in that game in New York we were talking about. That was the game that Hughes gave up only 2 runs. For his bad luck, he was matched up against Derek Holland, who shut out the Yankees on 2 hits. One ball, no strikes. And the pitch is low. It's 2-0. Profar asking,
I think he called it
clarification.
A strike.
Well, it was hard to tell. Kerwin Danley didn't make an overt sign, but he went up and I thought he was scratching his eye through his mask.
Well, the scoreboard has 2 strikes. I guess we'll find out. And I don't think Danley's tried to correct the scoreboard, so it must be 2-0. I hope it's 2-0.
There's a strike, and it would be 2-1 now.
If it was 2-0, that was a pretty good pitch to hit.
Youngest player ever to hit a home run at New Yankee Stadium. Of course, that's to say ever. It's hasn't been around since 2008 was the first year. Slow breaking ball, and it's 2-2. Not exactly where you draw that up as far as wanting the pitch to be, but it was effective getting a strike. 2-2 with Beltre at second base and 1 out. Just missed the inside corner.
That was close.
Profar, after seeing a couple of off-speed pitches, was thinking away and almost jammed himself.
That was real close. Very close.
Well, the count is full. Profar trying to get aboard with one out. Nelly Cruz will be next.
A little bit of a break with a call right there. Take advantage of it right here. Trying to throw it in there again.
Payoff pitch is low, ball 4. The third walk of the night issued by Phil Hughes. The Rangers need to start taking advantage if he's going to do that. Well, before Nelly Cruz steps in, let's take time for a Mazda game break with John Radigan. John? All right, John, thank you. The A's came back last night. They were trailing 3-1 in the 7th inning. Came back. Josh Reddick hit a 2-run home run for him in the 8th inning to win that ball game 4-3. Nelly Cruz, a tapper, right back to the mound his first time up. Has runners at first and second. Takes the breaking ball outside for ball 1. AT&T reverse replay last night. Nelly Cruz off Ivan Nova. Into the bullpen, catches some work out there in left center field. Cruz with his 23rd home run of the year, a solo blast. That capped off the scoring for the Rangers. It's that off-speed pitch. It catches the upper part of the strike zone. It is 1-1. The Rangers trying to break through against Hughes here in the 3rd inning. Angel Beltre at second base. Jurickson Profar at first. Now time called. Cruz backing out of the batter's box. Nelly back in. Hughes staring in for the signs from Austin Romine. Right-handers ready. Inside corner. 1-2.
Got a few people to acknowledge today. We have belated 65th wedding anniversary wishes to Charlie and Annette Edgood from West Monroe, Louisiana. Happy anniversary to both of you.
Saw the American League leaders in RBI. Nelly Cruz in the 5th slot. Takes that breaking ball. It's just off the outside corner. It's 2-2.
On their honeymoon. 65 years from now, we're going to announce that for you guys. It's got to be 50 before you can make our show, so we have plenty of time for that.
Write their name down now in case they don't get it to us.
I can't plan that far ahead.
2-2. Inside, it's 3-2.
Johnny Herman Edwards from Southlake is 101 years old today. Happy birthday, Johnny. Tom Heath from Irving is 87. Yesterday, Charles Crumpler from Waco was 80. Joe Adams from Grand Prairie was 80. Mildred Slater from Olney was 84.
Payoff pitch. Line down the right field line, but that will slice back into the seats. And we'll try it again at 3-2.
And Jackie Boswell was 84 years old. So Charles Crumpler, Joe Adams, Mildred Slater, Jackie Boswell. Happy belated birthday from yesterday.
Cruz back in. Steve Nelly's been on quite a tear here at home. Last 16 home games. Driven in 17, hitting over 320. Got a couple of runners aboard here with one out. Hughes sets again the 3-2. Got him swinging. Down and in, and Hughes gets a huge strikeout of Nelson Cruz. That is out number 2, and it'll be up to Adrian Beltre.
Well, he made a good pitch when he had to. You've got a dangerous hitter up there, and if you walk him, you load the bases with one out for another dangerous hitter. Well, he threw a sinker. Really not a guy that's known for that kind of a pitch, really. He's a fly ball pitcher, but it looked like the ultimate sinker ball right there.
Well, here's Beltre, who walked his first time to the plate. Angel Beltre at second. Jurickson Profar at first. And the first pitch is a belt-high fastball. It is 0-1. Adrian, 57 runs driven in. He would like to increase that by at least 1 here. Hughes with the 0-1 pitch. High in the air, center field, playable for Brett Gardner. Back a couple of steps, waits for it to come down, and that will do it. Well, the Rangers again missing a golden opportunity. They strand two on a double and a walk. We're going to the fourth. The Yankees 2, the Rangers nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. Source for live baseball everywhere you go. It's available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At Bat delivers Rangers baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and a whole lot more. Just text At Bat to 31826, or you can visit TexasRangers.com for details. At bat now for the New York Yankees is Vernon Wells. Wells, Nunez, and Lillibridge. And the first pitch to Vernon is fouled straight back. It is 0-1. Wells a pop out to second. His first time up there. The Yankees strung together 4 of their 5 hits last inning against Ogando for their 2 runs. Ogando trying to get Wells to start off this inning, keep him off base. 0-1 pitch. That's all the way to the backstop. Bernie, to remember, had been on a really good tear at the start of the season. Fell off a bit. Now he's last 15 games gotten back to 326 over that span. This ball hammered to left field. Beltre toward the line, can't get there. One hop, it's off the wall. Into second, a leadoff double is Vernon Wells, and that is the 3rd double in the last inning plus a hitter. Like Alexi's starting to get a few pitches up in the strike zone.
Yeah, high fastball. Wells throughout his career has been an excellent fastball hitter. One of the shorter, quicker strokes that you'll see. Not be quite as short and quick as it used to be, but it's still, as evidenced right there, hit the fastball.
The Wells at second base, nobody out. Eduardo Nunez, who dropped down a bunt single his first time up, will step in, trying to at least get Wells over to third. Rangers with Profar at third and Moreland at first, playing up a bit. Now Mitch Moreland backing up a step or so. Ogando's first pitch, high and tight. Back bending out of the way, Eduardo Nunez. Alexi Ogando with a message on that pitch: don't bunt on me, or something to that effect. Right-handers 1-0 pitch. That's high and tight. It's 2-0. Well, Alexi, little erratic in the last couple of innings. Started out great. First couple of innings, not much of a problem at all. The last two frames, he had a little trouble getting the ball down where he wants to in the strike zone. Check of second. 2-0 pitch. That one was down and too far down. It's 3-0. Nunez hitting in the number 6 slot. He'll be followed by the third baseman, Brent Lillibridge. Three-0 pitch. 3-1. Alexi okays the sign. Next pitch in the air to center field. Gentry starts back now, makes the catch. Tagging at second. Going to third is Wells. The throw is offline. And in is Vernon Wells as he moved up 90 feet on a fly ball to center.
I thought Craig might have a shot at him. Pretty deep to have a great shot at him. Would have taken a perfectly accurate throw. He's up the line a little bit. You get a good angle right here. I'm not sure if you could have had him anyway.
So one of those productive outs that we hear so much about. Eduardo Nunez with a deep enough fly ball to get Wells at third now with one out. Rangers will pull the infield all the way in with Brent Lillibridge at the plate. Lillibridge hit a sinking line drive that Nelly Cruz made a great catch on back in the second inning. Ogando working from the stretch. The first pitch is low for ball one. Lillibridge checking with Robbie Thompson down there at third base, the Yankee third base coach. Ogando staring in for the sign. Has the one he wants. Chopper, Kinsler has it. He's coming to the plate. The throw, the tag, he couldn't come up with. Brzezinski caught the ball but didn't have the handle on it. Sliding in safely is Vernon Wells, and the Yankees take a 3-0 lead.
It's got to be a tough play because the ball wasn't hit right at Ian, and Wells was going on contact, so he got a good jump at third base. Tough to make a perfect throw when you have to go in that direction and then turn all the way around it. Obviously, if the throw is perfect and up the line, you have a shot. A very difficult play.
Well, the Yankees able to do something in the last two innings the Rangers have not been able to do in a couple of innings, and that's score a man after a leadoff double.
Yeah, that's pretty much the difference in the ballgame. With no outs, the Rangers haven't been able to move him to third base in one occasion, and the other occasion when they did, they couldn't get him in with one out.
Melky Mesa, who doubled and scored his first time, swings and misses at strike one.
Very tough play for Brzezinski. The ball bounced, and it's hard enough to catch the short hop without having to catch it and make a tag with a guy coming in on you. He did the best he could.
Ogando with the 0-1 pitch coming. A ball and a strike. Well, the Yankees have done the little things so far in the first 3+ innings. They have a 3-0 lead. Melky Mesa trying to continue this hot streak for the Yankees. Well, Ogando, that breaking ball stay up, and Mesa just fouled it back. Moving a little dangerously. Remember, Mesa leading off the third inning. Last inning, he had a blistered a double off the wall in center field. Up here now with Lillibridge at first and one out. 1-2 pitch. Out of play to the right. We will try it again. A little extra stick him on that bat. Mesa making his first start for the Yankees this year. He was just recalled from AAA a little while ago. That breaking ball is outside. Mesa called up before last Saturday's game in Boston. Made his major league debut last year with the Yankees. He had 3 games at the major league level. Went 1 for 2 in his first foray into the major leagues. Foul back, and it's still 2-2.
Mesa's a guy that had a lot of time in the minor leagues. He's a .238 hitter in his minor league career. That shows you how deep the Yankees have had to dip to fill out their 25-man roster. Someone had a great line before the game. They said David Cohn, the analyst for the Yankee games, has more hits in his career than the Yankee bench had last night. But those guys are doing a pretty good job tonight.
Yeah, they are. That they are.
This goes to show you in any big league game, guys have played well enough to get to the big leagues. They're there for a reason. They have the talent to be there. And you have to play well to beat them, make good pitches to get them out. Cabrera Mesa started that inning, 2-run inning with a double in the gap.
2 balls, 2 strikes as Ogando gets ready. Now 3-2. Oh, Alexi struggling in the last couple of innings. He has had a difficult time putting hitters away and had a difficult time getting the ball down with control in the lower part of the strike zone. See if Lillibridge is running on the pitch. He's on the move. Got him swinging the breaking ball. Throw to second, the tag. And no, he's safe. Safe at second, said Dick Carapazzi.
The way he looked,
look at it.
The way he looked, I wonder if Ian was able to handle the throw in the dirt. Short hopped him. Close play. Get another look at it. I guess he was just looking to see if his hand came off the bag. Tag was down. Looked like he got his hand in there first. Ian stayed right with it, but Lillibridge kept his hand on the bag. It's a good play by Ian. The ball bounced. He had to catch it and make the tag. Just couldn't quite get the tag there in time.
Now pick off at second and not quite in time. Boy, nice swipe tag attempt by Elvis Andrus. Almost had Lillibridge.
If the throw was on the other side of the bag, they might have had him. A lot of daylight between Elvis and Lillibridge.
Good job by Ogando making a quick move all the way around to second. Yeah, you're right, Tom. If that throw is down on the bag, they get him. Yeah. Now the first pitch to Romine. Fastball right down the middle. Romine shot one right down the first baseline for a double. He was up there with Mesa at second, nobody out last inning. Ross Wolf starting to loosen in the Ranger bullpen. And A.J. Pierzynski going to go out and have a little chat with Alexi Ogando. First 2 innings, not a problem for Ogando, just 1 hit. It was a bunt single. Last 2 innings, it's been a little bit different. Folks, while we have a second, I want to remind you can play Lotto Texas with Extra. Your chance to win Texas-sized jackpots. Texas original jackpot game is available at your favorite lottery retailer. No balls and a strike. A rip and a miss by Romine. Yankees 3 runs on 6 hits tonight. Rangers no runs on 2 hits, but they've also had 3 walks in there. Just have not been able to capitalize yet. Ogando okays the sign, a check of Lillibridge at second. Got him swinging. Overpowered Romine with fastballs, and that'll do it. But the Yankees get on the board again. They get a run on 1 hit and lead 1. After 3.5, it's the Yankees 3, the Rangers nothing on Fox Sports Southwest.
.3 FM in Dallas. That's ESPN, and the Texas Rangers have come together, the first ticket pitch program. What happens is some select games you pay to get in. You first 150 people just get into the stadium. You can have a chance to pay for $13.33, a chance to buy 2 vouchers. Michael took part in that tonight. What happened after that, Michael?
I'll tell you what, Jim, I paid $10.03. Here I am sitting here, row 12 with my son with the chance to possibly see Rivera for his last time in Texas, and I can't be any more thrilled.
What happens is Michael put his name in a hat, and they drew out of 150 people. Anywhere in the stadium, you can get a ticket, maybe in the upper deck, but Michael right here, lower deck, for just $10.33. Next time up, this Thursday when the Rangers take on the Yankees, Thursday afternoon, first 150 people, just $10.33. Buzz?
All right, Jim, thank you. Well, that's an exciting promotion. Great deal. Well, the Rangers trailing by 3 now as A.J. Pierzynski starts off the bottom of the 4th inning. Pierzynski, Andrus, and Moreland to face Phil Hughes. Looper out into shallow left field, going out. Nunez still going out and reaches up over his head to make the grab for out number 1. So A.J. makes a right turn at first. He is 0 for 2. And we'll bring up Elvis Andrus. Reminder, folks, we'd like for you to join us at On the Border for dinner every Tuesday night, now through August the 13th. And you can enter to win free Rangers tickets and a VIP Rangers experience. Visit otbfanzone.com for details. Elvis skied out to right field. His first time up. He was leading off the second at that time and takes the first pitch away for ball 1. Elvis at 244 with the average. Gotta make that 245, excuse me. You want to shortchange Elvis a point. Started to get things turned around a little bit. If he can just maintain that. He's due for a lot of good things to happen. He keeps swinging the bat the way he is. Can't say that a whole lot good has happened to him for the last couple of months as far as finding holes and things like that. 1-1 pitch from Hughes. Out of play to the right. Elvis 5 out of 14 on this homestand, the first 4 games of it. A ball and 2 strikes. Hughes back to the plate. And Elvis to right center field. In a hurry, Brett Gardner. He was playing fairly shallow and able to cut the ground down in a hurry to make the grab. That is out number 2.
Yeah, that's one thing that takes a lot of hits away from Elvis is they play him well. They know where he hits the ball in the air most of the time. The right fielder shades over toward the line. You can see the center fielder shaded way over toward right center field. And Elvis hits a lot of balls out there, and they're not playing very deep. So they take a lot of base hits away from him. I think the one thing that Elvis needs to be able to do is drive the ball a little bit better to the gaps to take advantage of how shallow they're playing, because they are taking a lot of base hits away from where they play him.
Mitch Moreland takes a strike. Mitch aboard with a walk, his first time to the plate. Moreland at 256. He has had a tough time in the first 4 games of this homestand. Just 1 hit in 14 trips to the plate. 1-1 now. Talking about Mitch being kind of a power outage. Since he came back off the disabled list, it was back on the 21st of June. He's had just 9 RBIs in the 26 games and just 1 home run. Hit under 200. That's out of play to the left. And the count moves to a ball and 2 strikes. Moreland hitting with the bases empty and 2 away here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Hughes with a 1-2 pitch. Popped up near the Yankee dugout, and it's back about 3 rows over the rooftop. We'll try it again in a ball and 2 strikes. With a nice crowd on hand here tonight. They had a crowd of better than 40,000 here last night. Rangers averaging just over 39,000. That's second best in the American League, trailing only the Yankees, and they're about 600 per game behind the Yankees in average attendance. Pitch top foul by Moreland. It's still 1-2.
It's a long way from the old days being compared to the Yankees when you start talking about attendance.
It looks to be a crowd right around 40,000 tonight, maybe a little bit more. Another 1-2 pitch. Hughes about ready to throw his 60th pitch of the night. Moreland waiting. Nice foul off to the left. And we'll try it again at 2-2. So Mitch hanging tough. We've remarked a couple of times, Tom, that Mitch has had a couple of streaks lately where he go 3-4 at bats where he drives the ball the other way and you think, okay, that's it. He's going to catch fire and take it on through, and he just hasn't been able to maintain it from game to game.
No, the one time where he was hot for an extended period of time earlier in the season, he was doing that one game right after the other.
Popped up. That will reach the seats on the left side. Mitch trying to get some souvenirs to as many folks over there as possible right now.
I'd like to see him give a souvenir to someone right around the Ranger bullpen.
Yeah, just behind it. That'd be a good spot.
They haven't gotten anything today.
Two and two with 2 outs. Hughes hands together in front of him, goes to the wind. And Moreland hits it well to left center field, but back into the gap. Brett Gardner with pretty good speed, able to backpedal quickly. And that will do it. First time tonight, the Rangers down in order. We have played 4 innings since the Yankees 3, the Rangers nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. For Chevy Hometown Kids, it's not about the score, it's about the experience. And you can bring your own lollipop if you want to. Well, that thing's going to be around for a little while, isn't it? Pretty good size. Holy cow.
Yeah, that's when you need that before a day-night doubleheader.
How many licks does it take to get to the center?
That's going to be a long time.
Wow.
As we go to the top of the fifth inning, as always, joining us on our Fox Sports Southwest booth up here, Mark McLemore, co-host of Rangers Live pre and post. And Mac, it looks like the Rangers have kind of fallen right back into a familiar, all too familiar little hole that they've dug for themselves.
You know, they have. It's just, they're not being able to be consistent, not being able to go game to game and back those hits up. You've got to give, Phil Hughes credit, but, at some point you've got to say, okay, we can't worry about who's out there pitching. We've got to get consistent and go out and drive runs in on a consistent basis.
Yeah, it's frustrating, Mac, when you get a couple of leadoff doubles early in the game and can't turn them into runs. You see the Yankees get a couple of men on second base and do just the opposite, turn them into runs.
Yeah, it is. You get especially when you get the top of the order doing their job and the middle guys aren't driving those runs in. And, it's just one of those times. The top of the order gets on, the middle guys don't drive him in. They don't come up with a big hit. And then the top of the order doesn't get on, and the middle guys get hits with nobody on.
Grounder rolled out to Ian Kinsler, and Gardner is out number one here in the fifth inning.
Well, when you're struggling, that's kind of what happens.
Meanwhile, Alexi Ogando went through a couple of innings, the third and fourth, where he had trouble getting the ball down consistently. The Yankees took advantage of it. We were remarking back about the lineup. Writing the guys' names down in this lineup for the Yankees, almost like doing a spring training game. Who are these guys? But like Tom said, they're in the big leagues, so they go out there and you still have to make pitches, still have to make plays to take care of them. And you got to give credit to the Yankees. They've scored runs when they just manufactured some a couple of times.
Yeah, you do. They may not be household names right now because they're young guys, but they're big league ball players. They're on a big league club. You may not recognize the names. You may not know who they are, but they're here for a reason. So you've got to respect that, and you've still got to make pitches, because if you don't, they're going to do what they've been doing tonight. They've got 3 runs right now, and the Rangers don't have any.
Ichiro takes that pitch on the outside corner. It's 2-1. Suzuki had an infield RBI single his last time up. He drove in his 26th run of the year. Pops this one up on the right side, up into the twilight. Ian Kinsler, though, has it scoped out as he looked up there. Mitch Moreland thought about going over there, and Ian's, no, I'll take care of this. That's out number 2. This time of night, with the sky the way it is, I would think it'd be very easy, unless you watch the ball the entire way, to lose that thing in the twilight.
Extremely easy to lose it. You don't want to take your eye off of it. If you take your eye off of it, you're probably not going to pick it up again.
A lot of times, Mac, you'll see the outfielders, and I think I did this, look into the infielders and say, if it goes up, let me know where it is. Is it easier for the infielder to see it than the outfielder?
It usually is, because the infielder's closer to it when the ball makes contact with the bat. So that's why the outfielder, the outfielder may not pick it up right away. So the infielder will usually try to point to it. And at this time of day, what I would do, especially here or in most parks where it was, twilight, I would turn around to the outfielders and tell them, hey, I'm going to point it out to you at point of contact, because it's just tougher to pick it up, when you're, 350 feet away from it.
Right.
Hot shot. Profar dives to his left and picks it off the dirt. Profar going hard to his left with that dive, came up with a great play, and the Yankees are gone in order. We have finished half the ball game. Yankees 3, Rangers nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. be treated to a reusable tote bag that's courtesy of Reliant. This handy tote bag is perfect for shopping trips or afternoons at the pool. And you can get one of your own on July 30th. The Rangers take on the Angels. Tickets are available at TexasRangers.com. Bottom of the fifth inning. It'll be Craig Gentry to start things off for the Rangers, and he takes inside from Phil Hughes for ball one. Gentry rounded into a 3-6-3 double play his first time up. And Craig now at 223 with the average. 1-1.
Hughes is only 4-9 on the season, but in 10 of his 19 starts, he's given up 2 earned runs or less, including a game against the Rangers where he got shut out 2-0. And in those 10 games, he only won 3 of them. The Yankees haven't given him a lot of support this year either. Actually, been some reports about the Yankees maybe being a seller at the trade deadline. I've seen his name mentioned a little bit. That would be a change.
Yeah.
For the Yankees to be the one selling at the trade deadline.
2 hopper out to Robinson Cano. 1 away. Well, before Angel Beltre comes up, it's time for a Mazda game break once again. Here's John Radigan. All right, John, thank you. Angel Beltre, who doubled into the right field corner his first time to the plate. He had that leadoff double in the third and could advance no further. Slaps that first pitch foul the other way, and it's 0-1. Well, Beltre now with that average back up over the 300 mark, 333, as he stands at home plate. Hughes back to him. Squirted one out to left field in a hurry, coming on Mason, and he makes the grab on the run. That is out number 2. Boy, and all of a sudden, the Rangers have been, last 7 have been set down in order by Phil Hughes, who is, like most guys that have pitched well in their careers, you give an opportunity to settle down, you usually get more than you bargain for.
The Rangers have had the 2 leadoff doubles. Other than that, there hasn't been much. Hughes has done a great job of shutting the bats down tonight. He pitched, as we already mentioned, that pretty good game in New York where I think it was Derek Holland shut him out 2-0.
Right.
Pitched nicely that game, too. And throwing even better tonight.
Ian Kinsler takes a strike. Yeah, in the 2 innings that the Rangers had the leadoff double, Kinsler had the one in the first inning. He's also walked a man. Hughes has given the Rangers the opportunity in those 2 innings. But now it's put it on cruise control here. That ball's hit pretty well to center field. That chases Gardner back. Still going back at the track. Makes the catch as he pounds into the padding. Well, Ian gave it a ride. Came up about 5 feet short. And the Rangers are gone in order in the 5th. Mac, thanks for joining us. Sorry it was so quick, but we'll get with you tomorrow night.
All right, we'll see you guys.
3-0 New York after 5. change everything, you change everything. And Ron Washington has changed something as we go to the 6th inning. That would be the pitcher. It's Ross Wolf coming on to take over for Alexi Ogando.
Well, Ogando goes 5 innings, 6 hits, and 3 runs, didn't walk anybody. Had a couple of strikeouts to end the 4th inning. And Ross Wolf back into the long man role. Had a spot start his last outing.
That didn't go quite as well for him. He had the 2-inning outing as a starter against Baltimore. He gave up 7 runs in 2 innings of work, 9 hits, a couple of walks, and 2 strikeouts. And trying to settle things down here against the Yankees, and he deals a strike to Lyle Overbay.
Yeah, with the new additions to the starting staff, a couple of relievers had to be sent out. Joseph Ortiz and Corey Burns were the 2 relievers sent out. Ross Wolf as a long man remains with the club. They needed somebody in that role, felt that Ross was the best man for that job, and as a long man this year, he's had a couple of really fine outings.
1 ball, 1 strike. Wolf back to Overbay. That's out of play to the left. Well, stop by Whataburger tomorrow. You can meet Ross Wolf. He'll be at the Mesquite location on Military Parkway. Don't miss a chance to win great prizes and to meet one of your Texas Rangers, Ross Wolf, at Whataburger. The 1-2 offering. We will try it again as that ball is shot foul into the club section of seats down the left field line. Yankees 3 runs on 6 hits. They have played error-free baseball. The Rangers no runs on 2 hits. They also have not committed an error tonight. Got him swinging. Oh, a good sinking fastball from Ross Wolf, and he gets strikeout number 1.
Here we go.
Now, before Vernon Wells steps in, let's say hello to Jim Knox once again. Jim?
All right, Buzz, appreciate this. Was the scene before the game. The Fox Sports Fan Express rolling in from just outside of San Angelo. That's right. Also, the Fox Sports Southwest girls on hand, Kami and Liddy. And on the bus, well, courtesy KGKL Radio, it was the boys, West Texas Boys Ranch, right outside of San Angelo. Dustin, what was this about?
Sir. This is an amazing opportunity where people, out of the kindness and goodness of their heart, have paved the way for us to come all the way across from the other side of Texas to have a fun-filled evening with you guys here at the Texas Ranger Stadium.
There we go.
Thanks to KGKL Southwest. They gave us hats, bats, and a good time tonight.
There we go. You guys having fun, huh? All right. Enjoy the rest of the game, Buzz.
All right, Jim. San Angelo, huh?
Who's from San Angelo? David Hulse.
David Hulse. Yep. 0-2 the count to Vernon Wells. Wells has doubled and scored tonight in 2 at-bats. Call strike 3, and Vernon knew it. He was kind of squatting down like a catcher, take a better look at it. So now can't do much with that.
I think Vernon will go back to the dugout feeling like he had a couple of pitches to take advantage of, fouled him off, and boy, Ross ran that fastball right down the middle of the plate, but it didn't start out down the middle of the plate. The ball really had some movement to it. Came back from probably a little bit outside to catch the middle of the plate like that. Good pitch.
No, back-to-back strikeouts for Wolf to open up the 6th inning. Now with 2 away, Eduardo Nunez takes strike 1. Nunez, a bunt single in the 2nd, and then flied to center field in the 4th inning. Fastball just off the outside corner. Well, Ross tuning that up 93 miles an hour. That's a pretty good pop on the fastball for him, especially with the kind of movement that he gets. Just outside. 2-1 now, the count to Nunez. Wolf working from the stretch. The right-hander deals. And it's a little bit low. 3-1. But Nunez trying to extend the inning. If he gets aboard, Brent Lillibridge, the 3rd baseman, would hit next. Wolf back to the plate. Liner to left. On comes Beltre. It stays up for him, and Angel able to make the catch shoulder high. Side retired in 1-2-3 fashion. Wolf works the sixth perfectly for the bottom of the sixth inning. 3-0 Yankees. Inning brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $700 and dinner for two at Sonic Drive-In. Tonight, the Rangers are hitting for Whitney Herndon from Dallas. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Whitney Herndon of Dallas will win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Jurickson Profar to start things off against Phil Hughes. Hughes has shut the Rangers out on just a couple of hits. Through the first 5 innings, he's retired the last 8 that he has faced. Jurickson Profar took a walk back in the 3rd inning. That's the last base runner the Rangers have had. First pitch to him in the 6th inning is looped foul down the right side. Jurickson getting jammed pretty well. He fought that pitch off. He was going to swing no matter where that thing was. Profar, as you can see, no official at bat tonight. He had a sacrifice bunt in the first. Rolls this one out to second. Cano sidearm flip to first, and Profar is out number 1 with Nelson Cruz coming up.
A good pitch right there by Hughes. He got the fastball in on the fist. You mentioned him being jammed. He was jammed again on that one. We've only had 2 hits tonight, 2 leadoff doubles. We're unable to score. It's 3-0 last night. So far, it's 3-0 tonight the other way. Rangers need to string something together right here. Running out of time.
Nelly Cruz has had a tough night. He has come up both times with 2 runners aboard. He has struck out, and he has tapped right back to the pitcher. 1 ball, no strikes. Cruz at 274 with the average. Hughes to the plate. Off the glove of Lillibridge out into left field. Brent Lillibridge wanted nothing to do with that ground ball.
Well, you could see that coming. He could see it coming. He was going to take a stab in the dark. It was going to take a hop that he wasn't going to be able to play easily. He was going to take that short hop in front of him. Only chance was to come in after this ball, but once he laid back on it, you're kind of at the mercy of the hop.
Yep.
You could see the concentration. Just couldn't quite play the hop. That's the kind of play that Beltre makes so good. Somehow he plays it the same way, but that ball goes in his glove almost every time. I don't know how he does it.
Now that's going to be ruled an error on Lillibridge. Now Adrian Beltre drives one to deep left center field. Up the alley. It is in for a hit off the wall. Cruz being waved around. The relay throw is not in time, and the Rangers are on the board. Adrian Beltre with the RBI double. It is 3-1 Yankees.
Well, that's one of the marvelous things about baseball. It can go along quietly for a long time, and bang, 2 straight pitches, get out on an error and a double in the gap, and everybody's excited again.
Adrian Beltre with his 23rd double of the year, to go along with 22 home runs. Well, he just went out, raked that outside pitch from Philip Hughes.
Gardner is playing a little bit around toward right center field. Covers a lot of ground out there, but too much ground to cover to catch that line drive. Oh, one swing of the bat, you got an entirely different game going on. And remember, Hughes has been prone to the home run this year.
Yeah.
Last couple of years, I should say.
And here's a man who has had some big home runs for the Rangers. Brzezinski drives it to right center. This one, though, is playable for Gardner. Tagging at second, moving to third on the throw. Beltre, the headlong dive in there safely. And he's there now with 2 outs for Elvis Andrus. I don't think Adrian thought that play was going to be that close when he decided to tag up. Adrian still managing that tender hamstring a bit. Doesn't force it unless he actually has to. Kind of running stiff-legged. I think he got about halfway there and said, uh-oh. I don't know if I made the right decision or not. Got to put the move on here. So with 2 away, Elvis comes up, having flied out twice. Once to right and once to center. Hughes from the stretch. And fires a strike.
Here's where you need that big 2-out hit. 3-1's nice, but 3-2 would be so much better with only 3 innings to go.
Boone Logan, the only left-hander in the Yankee pen, up and throwing. Mitch Moreland, a left-hander, waiting in the on-deck circle. Pitch off the outside corner. And the count is even to Elvis at 1-1. Elvis at 245. And he has been a much better hitter here at home, hitting over 300 in his last 15 home games. That breaking ball is wide, and Romine has to drop down to both knees to make sure that doesn't go to the backstop. 2-1 now. Beltre at third. He had the RBI double driving home Nelson Cruz. Advanced to third on that flyout by Pierzynski. Phil Hughes wants a different baseball with which to work. And Kerwin Danley obliges him. Hughes now ready to work. A check of Beltre at third. The 2-1 pitch. Line drive, right field, base hit.
That's what
Beltre will score. Elvis Andrus comes through with a solid RBI single. It's 3-2 now. Rangers cut the lead to just 1.
That was a hard hit smash right there. That wasn't a soft slicing line drive. He went out and drove that ball to right field. Well hit ball, much needed 2-out RBI. Good job.
Well, Elvis with his 32nd RBI of the year. And Joe Girardi on his way out to the mound with the left-hander Mitch Moreland swinging a bat now, getting ready to come up there. That's going to do it for Phil Hughes. So Hughes goes 5 2/3. He will leave leading 3-2. With that lead in jeopardy, he leaves with Elvis Andrus at first as his responsibility. Left-hander Boone Logan coming on while he makes his way in from left center field. We'll take a timeout. Be right back to Rangers Ballpark in Arlington after this on Fox Sports Southwest. takes place a week from tomorrow. That's July 31st. Rangers taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Reserve your seats today at TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS. And speaking of hot dogs, here's your AT&T Twitter poll results. What do you like on your hot dog, as long as we're talking about National Hot Dog Day? 40% of it going for the action. You want to get it all. The boomstick option, that encompasses everything else. Everybody else, yeah, there's I'm a mustard-only guy.
Mustard only?
Yeah, that's me.
I'm mustard and relish with occasionally with onions.
See, that way,
no cheese.
That way I know I can wear a yellow shirt and nobody can tell if I spilled it or not. I get the other stuff on there, I have to wear a multicolored shirt.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you don't have a whole lot of yellow shirts either, do you?
I think I have one.
You have one?
Yeah. It's got mustard all over.
It was white.
Mitch Moreland takes the first pitch from Boone Logan outside for ball one. And that's not really the color of mustard, at least not.
If
good
it is,
mustard.
I wouldn't recommend eating it.
That might be
Probably
old.
been around a little while.
Old mustard. Elvis the lead from first. He draws a throw from Boone Logan. Moreland did a good job still hitting against left-handers. A .359 hitter against them from mid-April through the All-Star break. Fallen into a little bit of a slump. For his last 12, but it'd be a great time to break out of that. Elvis trying to get that lead at first, and Logan refusing to allow that to happen.
Well, Elvis has stolen 20 bases or more 5 straight years. No one has ever done that for the Rangers before.
Isn't that something? That's great.
Yep. And so I don't blame Boone Logan in a one-run game for keeping him tight.
1-0. Moreland a drive. Deep center field. Gardner going back. He stops. Goodbye. Mitch Moreland turns the game around. The Rangers lead 4-3. And we have a Sonic Slam winner. $700 and dinner for two for Whitney Herndon of Dallas. Congratulations, Whitney. Congratulations, Mitch Moreland.
That's all Mitch needed to do was see a left-handed pitcher. Put a charge in that one halfway up the hill, and such a funny game. Offense can be so quiet and bang, in a matter of minutes, take advantage of one error. The ground ball to third that Lillibridge couldn't play just opened the floodgates. Double, single homer in the lead.
Greg Gentry shoots one foul down the right side. Oh, Mitch Moreland, boy, this is a great sight to see from him. The second home run in the last 3.5 weeks for Moreland. He hasn't had a bigger one in the last year.
Tough game for Philip Hughes. 5 2/3, didn't give up an earned run. Giving it the belt tray shuffle.
Well, Moreland with his 14th home run of the year, 40 RBI, and he has given the Rangers a 4-3 lead. And Gentry takes off the plate inside. It's a ball and a strike and 2 strikes. Well, Phil Hughes. Tough night for the right-hander. Tough night for the Yankees. It's just one of those situations. It probably for Hughes is tough to come out of a ball game when you have a lead. You know bad things have happened, even as good as their bullpen is. It seems like the Yankees have gotten in one of those streaks, kind of like the Rangers were in the last couple of weeks, where nothing good happens, it seems, at the worst possible time. 2-2, the count to Gentry. That ball's hooked down the left field line. Deep into the corner. One hopping off the wall. Mesa plays it, and Gentry cruising into second with a ringing double to the left field corner.
Pretty quiet through 5 innings, but after that error, things have just opened right up for the Rangers. 2 doubles, a home run, and a single.
Now Ron Washington is going to his bench as you get a look at that Gentry double again. Well, Ron Washington had called Jeff Baker from the bench. He was going to have him pinch hit. He is going to have him pinch hit for Angel Beltre, and that creates the need for a move by Joe Girardi. He is on his way to the mound, takes the ball from Boone Logan, who did not retire either of the two hitters he faced in this ball game tonight. Gave up the two-run home run to Mitch Moreland and the double to Craig Gentry. So another pitching change underway. We'll be back to Rangers Ballpark in Arlington right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Give you some never stop improving tips. How about adding Matt Garza to the rotation? Rangers haven't stopped improving by adding him. Last 6 starts for the Cubs, he has been spectacular at 5-0 and pitched into the 7th inning in all 6 of those starts. So Matt Garza, tip of the cap from Lowe's, never stop improving, brought to you by Lowe's. Preston Claiborne, the local product from Carrollton. And David Murphy pinch hitting for the pinch hitter. Jeff Baker rounds out to second, and that will do it. Well, one pitch, Claiborne gets out of it, but the Rangers score 4 times. They had 4 hits, and they leave one. Mitch Moreland, the big blast of the inning, his 14th home run of the game, will go to the 7th. Now the Rangers 4 and the Yankees 3. And it was all quiet on the Western Front until the 6th inning for the Rangers. They were trailing 3-0. Alexi Ogando had been pretty good coming back in his first start, but it took a Mitch Moreland 2-run blast. And we had a winner in the Sonic Slam inning, too. Whitney Herndon of Dallas won $700 on Mitch's blast, and that also turned the game around. Rangers now leading 4-3 as we head to the 7th inning, and a new pitcher now for the Rangers. It's Jason Frazier.
Yeah, Jason's pitching well. He's on a good roll. Only given up a couple of earned runs in his last 13 innings over 16 games. Ross Wolf came in and pitched an inning, did a great job. 3 up, 3 down with a couple of strikeouts. Well, 3 more innings for the bullpen. David Murphy moves into left field. And Jason Frazier tries to get the bottom of the order for the Yankees right here.
Yeah, Brent Lillibridge to lead things off. And the first pitch skips into home plate. It is 1 ball and no strikes. Lillibridge had an RBI on a fielder's choice groundout in the 4th inning. 0 for 2 officially tonight. Hits are even at 6. Rangers have the big blast, though, in this game. Moreland's 2-run home run. The next pitch is a bit low, and it's 2-0. Frazier sets, and the right-hander deals. Fastball right down through there. But Jason become a very valuable member of this Ranger bullpen. He has worked in some tough spots in the 6th and 7th innings. And just one hiccup lately, and that was a game in Baltimore where he gave up a run in an inning. This Ranger bullpen as a whole has been outstanding. There's a fly ball. Left field, kind of a lazy fly over David Murphy. The new left fielder, he puts it away. That is out number 1. And Melky Mesa will be the next hitter.
Yeah, you really like the way the bullpen is shaping up right now. Ross Wolf has done a solid job as a long man. And then everyone else, all 6 guys, Cox, Ross, Nathan, Soria, Sheppers, Frazier, are guys that have had excellent seasons. You love to see them coming into a ball game. There's no weak links out in that bullpen right now.
And you saw Neil Kotz out there heating up. And that bullpen is deep and, as a result, rested. And Tanner Sheppers and Robbie Ross. Sheppers on your right and Ross on your left, along with Soria. But Sheppers and Ross really shouldered the burden of the first half of the season. Boy, they just worked and worked and worked because the Rangers had a lot of close games late in the game. So they were in there better than 40 times apiece. Now they've had a chance to kind of back off a little bit. Mesa fouls it off to the right. The count is even at a ball and a strike.
And the one thing that you would think would happen, Buzz, in the next couple of months is the starting pitchers now, with Darvish back, with Garza here. As soon as Alexi gets a couple of starts under his belt, you have to think they're going to pitch deeper into games as a staff than they did in the first half, which will take some of the burden off the workload of those guys out in the bullpen, too, and that's going to help.
That's a good point. Low and outside, 2-1 the count. Yeah, the Rangers for the last 2 months have been among the league leaders in innings pitched out of the bullpen, and that's always a recipe for problems.
It got to the point where they had 9 men out in the bullpen to try to get through some of those games.
But to their credit, boy, they have really responded. They're on a streak of 7 straight games now without having allowed a run. The fastball strike, it's 2-2. It's sneaking up on one of the longest streaks in Rangers history. The bullpen record, team record, franchise record is 9 straight scoreless games for the bullpen, 27 innings. Back in 2008. Line drive, Moreland to step to his right, and he picks it out of the air for out number 2.
Well, the other thing that sets up is the 8th inning when you've got the 3 best hitters in the Yankee lineup, Gardner, Suzuki, and Cano. They're all left-handed hitters, and Neil Kotz is ready to pitch the 8th inning, so that sets up nicely. Getting Romine right here, and Kotz comes in, Overbay for that matter, the 4th hitter. 4 left-hand hitters in a row.
So 2 up, two out, I should say. Austin Romine up there. 1 for 2 tonight with a double, a run scored, and a run driven home. And a fastball poured right through there by Jason Frazier. Relievers in those 7 games we were talking about coming into tonight, 7 consecutive games without giving up a run, have worked 22 1/3 innings. Now that streak is 23 1/3, 24 now, but 1 2/3 innings tonight.
I think every time Jason comes into a game, he throws harder. Throwing 94 miles an hour in this game. Started out the season around 91. I think the more work he's got, the stronger he's getting.
Yep. 0-2, the count to Romine. Pitch on the way.
Whoa.
Just missed.
Thought he had it. Good location with the fastball. Yeah, that's pretty close.
One and 2 now. Frazier nods in agreement. The right-hander's ready. Got him swinging. Neat and tidy 1-2-3 inning for Jason Frazier. 14 pitches. Yankees gone in order. It's stretch time at the ballpark. 4-3 Rangers on Fox Sports Southwest. Fill you in on tomorrow's starters. Big day for the Rangers. Matt Garza, just acquired yesterday from the Chicago Cubs, will be on the hill. Andy Pettit, the veteran left-hander, will face him. Garza, we've mentioned 6-1 overall, but his last 6 starts, he has been just outstanding. 5-0 he has gone for the Cubs in his first start tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock on Fox Sports Southwest. First start in a Ranger uniform for Matt Garza. Well, Matt and all of his Ranger teammates looking forward to that. Ian Kinsler to lead things off here in the Rangers' 7th inning. 4-3 Texas. Preston Claiborne, right-hander, goes to work and misses high for ball 1. Kinsler 1 for 3 tonight, a double back in the first inning. One ball and 1 strike. Claiborne, big right-hander at 6'2", 225 pounds. 25-year-old who still lives here in Carrollton in the offseason. Kinsler chops it foul. The count moves to a ball and 2 strikes. Ian on a little bit of a doubles binge, 4 doubles in his last 5 ball games. Claiborne back to the plate. Check swing in the dirt. The appeal down to first, and no swing, says Lance Barksdale. Right-hander with a 2-2. That's high and away. 3 balls and 2 strikes. So Ian trying to get aboard. Rangers trying to do some more damage here in the 7th. Kinsler will be followed by Jurickson Profar. Claiborne with a payoff pitch. Up the middle, behind the bag, Cano throws across his body right on the money.
Wow. Well, we see the range that Ian shows, and Cano showed a little bit right there, too. Talk about making it look easy. Wow.
You know, it's one thing to be able to get to that ball and get a throw off like that. It's another just to put it right on the bag.
Yeah, watch the way he throws this ball. On the run, just throws it underhand. Right there. Wow.
That is spectacular to watch.
That's something.
Unless you're Ian Kinsler.
Yeah.
You're not so thrilled about it.
Frustrating to watch that. Ball was hit right up the middle for a base hit.
So 1 out. Here's Jurickson Profar, who is 0 for 1. Check swing roller foul outside third. Profar, a sacrifice bunt in the first. He walked in the third. And last time up, leading off the 6th, he grounded to second. Claiborne to the wind, the 0-1 pitch. A ball and a strike. Claiborne, origin of the Yankees' 17th round selection back in 2010. This year, his first opportunity to pitch at the big league level, and he has really responded. Profar lost one to left center. Mesa moving back and to his left there to make the grab. 2 gone. Time for a Mazda game break. Once again, here's John Radigan. All right, John, thank you. 11-0. That's crazy. 2 outs. Here's Nelly Cruz, who reached on an error his last time up, and that really opened the gates. The Rangers responded quickly by scoring 4 times, but after Nelly got on, the next pitch to Adrian Beltre was hammered into the gap to left center, and that scored Cruz. Started the scoring binge. There's a ball in the dirt. And the count is even at 1-1. Nelly 0 for 3 tonight. Ground ball back to the mound, also a strikeout. Claiborne to the wind, the right-hander deals. And hard slider down in the dirt again. 2-1. Next pitch to Cruz. Chopper foul. That evens the count now. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
It's played by Kenny down there. I think that's Kenny.
Cruz waiting. And the 2-2. Got him swinging. Well, Claiborne coming in with some pretty good stuff. Gets a 1-2-3 inning. Rangers gone in order, but we're going to the 8th. It's the Rangers 4, the Yankees 3 on Fox Sports Southwest.
Got married on Saturday in Midland and decided, hey, what better way to spend our honeymoon than right here at the ballpark? And Corey, I understand it was your wife's idea.
Exactly. She kind of said, hey, what about a Rangers game? I've never been, so I was just like, hey, why not? And then we found out they were in town, and our dad got us the tickets, so.
What a great father-in-law and what a great wife. Taking to your very first baseball game. Well, here's the bag. Congratulations. Any other big plans after this?
We're going to the aquarium on Thursday and the zoo tomorrow. So.
Wow. All that great fun. Okay, well, appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the game, and congratulations. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, way to go. Ashland, what a wife, Tom, huh?
Man. Doesn't beat having a baseball fan in the family. Did you get the feeling like that wouldn't have been his first choice?
Yeah, I did, as a matter of fact. Well, I think that may be an issue they need to work out between
That's
them.
what a marriage is, give and take.
That's exactly right. And Neil Kotz is on now to take what he needs to.
Well, we talked about the situation. Gardner, Suzuki, Cano, and Overbay, all left-hand hitters. Kotz pitching extremely well. His ERA now below 1.
Facing the top of the order, and a strike is fired right through there to Brett Gardner. Gardner 1 for 3 tonight. Had a third inning single. Other than that, he has popped out and grounded out. Rangers leading 4-3. Riding a 4-run 6th inning. A rip and a miss by Gardner. 0-2. Rangers announced the attendance here tonight, 42,739, and that puts them over the 2 million mark. 17th time in the last 18 years for the ball club.
Looks like a baseball town to me.
Yeah, I think it is. I haven't had much of a doubt in my mind anyway. Apparently some people don't feel that way, and that's okay.
I know Chuck Morgan feels that way.
Yeah.
Mayor Bob Cluck feels that way. 3 million fans are going to feel that way. I know the players feel that way. They talk about the crowds all the time and how much they appreciate it.
Line drive right at Elvis Andrews. Gardner, semi-well hit line drive. And Elvis positioned perfectly to handle it for out number 1.
Yeah, he's just hanging in there trying to make some contact and made decent contact. Almost had a base hit.
Now Ichiro comes up. Suzuki tonight 1 for 3. And Kotz just missing off the outer edge. 1 ball and no strikes. Ichiro an RBI infield single in the 3rd inning. Other than that, he has popped out a couple of times. Loops one to left field. Murphy coming on, had him played perfectly. Waited there to make the catch. That is out number 2.
Yeah, Neil came into the game with an 0.99 ERA. If you take all pitchers with at least 25 innings, that's the 4th best ERA in baseball. Opponents came into the game hitting 179 against him. It's a job of Chamberlain warming up for the Yankees. What a find for the Rangers. Signed him as a minor league free agent last year. Spent a lot of time in Round Rock. But he earned his way here, and he is definitely doing whatever he can to stay here.
Boy, and the model of consistency, too. It's just remarkable. Here's Cano. First ball swinging, skies it to center field. Easy play for Craig Gentry, and that will do it as Neil Kotz goes through the first, second, and third place hitters for the Yankees. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7.5 in the books. Rangers leading 4-3.
inning with a 4-3 Ranger lead over the Yankees as they try to make it 4 straight over the Bronx Bombers. Coming up after the game, it's Rangers Live presented by Esurance. I'll be here with Mark McLemore. Lots of post-game analysis and reaction. We'll hear from the players and from Ron Washington. Also, how about a little college football? We'll bring that to you on the post-game show as well. It's Rangers Live, presented by Esurance, right after the game, guys.
All right, John, thank you very much. Well, we head to the bottom of the 8th inning, and the 4th pitcher used by Joe Girardi tonight, Jabba Chamberlain, on in relief.
Well, Jabba Chamberlain struggling if you look at his ERA. Still has an excellent arm, though. Mid-90s fastball, hard-breaking ball. Just hasn't really put it together this year.
Chamberlain worked an inning in last night's ball game. Gave up a hit, but no damage done. He will face Adrian Beltre to start things off for the Rangers in the 8th inning. Beltre, Pierzynski, and Andrews. First 3 to do the swinging against Jabba Chamberlain. Beltre, an RBI double that got the Rangers going in the 6th inning. 1 ball, no strikes. So Adrian 1 out of 2 tonight. Batting average of .313. You can see against Jabba Chamberlain, Beltre is at the better numbers. 4 for 12. 1-0 pitch. And that is chopped foul between Gary Pettis and the line. 1-1. Chamberlain came into last night's game. The first hitter he faced was A.J. Pierzynski. Faced Pierzynski, Andrews, Murphy, and Soto. Gave up an infield single to Elvis Andrews. And that was it for the evening. Beltre a drive high and deep to center field. Gardner back. He has a play right against the padding and puts it away. Adrian gave it a pretty good ride. Sounded like he got it maybe just a hair toward the end of the bat.
Didn't quite have that crack.
In the park.
Didn't quite have that crack to it. Now you could tell when Mitch hit his, it had that sound of a home run. That one may not have had the sound, but it went 400 feet.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of sounded like hitting a little bit of a watermelon. Pierzynski shot right back to the mound. Jabba Chamberlain using all of his height to go up the ladder to grab that.
He had to look to make sure he had it.
No 2 outs. Elvis Andrews coming up. For leaderboard, we'll look at this evening the American League save leaders. Jim Johnson of the Orioles, 35. Joe Nathan, who is getting ready in the Ranger bullpen, has 31. And Nathan 31 out of 32. And there's Mariano Rivera, the all-time saves leader in the history of baseball, with 31 also. Elvis takes the pitch low and away for ball 1. Andrews, an RBI single. His was probably the key hit, other than Moreland's obvious two-run home run. But the big 2-out single by Elvis made that more than a 1-run inning in the 6th, and gave the Rangers a chance to really get something going. And then Mitch, of course, hits the ball out of the ballpark. But Elvis with a key 2-out run-scoring single to keep that inning going. Pitch inside, it's 2-1. Elvis now 32 runs driven in. And that batting average at .247. Out in front of that slider from Jabba Chamberlain. 2-2. Austin Romine flashing the signs out. Chamberlain agrees to one of them. The 2-2 pitch. Hit well to the gap in right center. Gardner on his horse. Still going back. Dives and makes the catch. Oh, what a play by Brett Gardner. Taking extra bases away from Elvis Andrews. Well, he can play some center field. Oh, that brings up Joe Nathan time as we head to the top of the 9th inning with this great display of defense by Brett Gardner. 4-3 Rangers on Fox Sports Southwest. West is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealer. Don't miss the Ford Summer Spectacular featuring blockbuster deals. Now playing at your best in Texas Ford dealer. By AT&T U-verse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PIC-ATT. Rethink possible. And by Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today.
As we were talking about Elvis, when he lined out to Ichiro, that he needs to drive the ball a little bit better because the outfielders are able to play a little bit shallow and take base hits away from him. So he drives the ball in the gap, looked like a certain extra base hit, and he still went 0 for 1 when Gardner ran that ball down. I'm beginning to wonder if he really is jinxed this year. Can't hit the ball any better than that.
You know, a guy who has not been jinxed at all, Joe Nathan, on for his 43rd appearance. 31 out of 32 in the save department, and Lyle Overbay goes after the first Nathan offering and fouls off the breaking ball. It is 0-1. Nathan got save number 31 in last night's ball game. Back out there again tonight. Last night, Nathan faced the top of the order in Gardner, Suzuki, Cano, and Overbay. Tonight he's down in the middle of the order and misses low and outside to Overbay. 1 ball and 1 strike. 0 for 6, including the fly out last night that ended the ball game. Lyle Overbay against Joe Nathan. Rip and a miss. Another breaking ball. 1-2.
We're talking about the bullpen, how well they're pitching. The bullpen right now has the best bullpen ERA in baseball. And they have 4 shutout innings tonight if Joe can finish this off.
Got him swinging.
Good start.
Down and out of the zone, and Overbay strikeout victim to begin the 9th inning.
That's 13 up and 13 down for the bullpen with 4 strikeouts.
And that's pretty good, isn't it?
That is real good.
Okay.
That 2.94 bullpen ERA coming into the game is pretty good. It's gone down from there. 2 more outs to go. If Joe can close it out, he'll get his 32nd save.
Now here's Vernon Wells. Wells 1 for 3 with a double and a run scored. He was going up there looking for something he could drive out of the ballpark, and Nathan didn't give it to him.
I think in this situation with a 1-run game, got to keep the ball away from Vernon. Don't let him pull anything.
Breaking ball is wide, and Nathan able to. Tomorrow, AT&T U-verse tells you we'll be right back with you at 7 o'clock on Fox Sports Southwest. Matt Garza's Texas Ranger debut. Andy Pettit will be on the hill for the Yankees. 2-1. The count to Vernon Wells. Wells over the years, you see against Nathan, has not had much success. 1 for 8. And here's Matt Garza. The pitch just off the inside corner.
Could have been
3-1.
Ball sinking. That's all away in the strike zone. That not only could have been, that one probably should have been.
Nathan, a big sigh and back to work. Check swing. Did he go around? No, he did not. The appeal down to first, and Vance Barksdale, the first base umpire, said nope. Well, the Yankees have the tying run on as Vernon Wells draws the walk. Now Eduardo Nunez will come to the plate.
Last night, the Yankees had a very inexperienced bench. Tonight, they do have an experienced guy on the bench. That's Travis Hafner, who's looks like he's going to be on deck.
Nunez stepping into the batter's box, 1 for 3 tonight. Had a bunt single back in the second inning. And he takes the first pitch low for ball 1. Nunez checking with Rob Thompson down there at third. And Kerwin Danley, most of the night, has not given that low pitch.
No. The last 2 pitches Joe's thrown down. It's one thing if they're touching the strike zone, but when they're all the way in it, those are pitches pitcher definitely feels like he should get. Both those balls are sinking and going down, but according to the Fox zone, Fox tracks, they look like strikes.
Nathan agrees with Brzezinski on the sign. The 1-0 pitch. And a breaking ball. Nunez able to lay off, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. And A.J. Brzezinski giving a little piece of his mind now to Kerwin Danley.
You got some of those pitches have to be strikes. If your pitcher's trying to make strikes, throw strikes so that the hitter can't get the ball up in the air, you don't get any help when those pitches aren't called strikes.
Pop foul. That's back behind the plate and out of play. It's 2-1. Yeah, it really takes away. Joe Nathan, though, has the ability to work virtually any part of the strike zone with different pitches. But some guys, a sinker ball pitcher, for example, would have no chance of being successful with Kerwin Danley behind the plate, calling as he is tonight.
Yeah.
Now, if you can't get that low pitch called a strike, nobody will swing at it if that's your strong suit. And Nathan will make a move to first and back with a kind of a half dive. Vernon Wells. And it doesn't take hitters long, does it, Tom, for them to figure out what the strike zone is?
No, most umpires, have a strike zone. The hitters know that before they ever come into the game. They're scouting reports on the umpires, so you have a pretty good idea. But on any given night, that can vary a little bit, I'm sure.
Rip and a miss, and it's 2-2.
Good fastball at 94 miles an hour for Joe.
This crowd now of almost 43,000 beginning to stand and applaud. Supporting Joe Nathan and the Rangers. 2 balls and 2 strikes, 1 out. Rangers leading 4-3 here in the top of the 9th inning. And Nathan will drive Wells back again with a throw. It gives the crowd a chance to regroup and start all over again. Chuck Morgan imploring Ranger faithful to noise what's going on around. 2-2. Wells the modest lead at first. Nathan to the plate. All the way to the backstop. Brzezinski has a bound away from him, but Wells down to second. That ball rolls clear down to third base.
Joe, hope he didn't get hurt. He went down hard after that ball. I don't know whether his spikes got caught in the dirt or exactly what happened, but hopefully he's okay.
But Jamie Reed, along with Mike Maddox and Ron Washington, out there to check on their closer. Joe doing a little groundskeeping work.
Oh, he slipped, didn't he?
Just came out from underneath him. Well, sometimes when you land a little bit more on your heel, and Nathan didn't look like he did too much, at least from that angle. Sometimes if your heel comes down first, you can get a little bit different part of that landing area that you haven't used before, and it can be slippery. Fortunately, Joe's okay. He has run the count now to 3-2 to Nunez. Wells now in scoring position, and Travis Hafner waiting in that on-deck circle to be as a pinch hitter. Nathan peering in for the sign. Nods in agreement and comes set. The payoff pitch. In the air, left center field, hit pretty well. On his horse, Gentry, back at the track, can't make the play. It's off the wall, and in to score is Vernon Wells, being held at third on a game-tying triple, Eduardo Nunez. So the Yankees have come back to tie it as Gentry and the ball got to the wall at exactly the same time. And Nunez RBI triple makes this a 4-4 game.
Joe throws him a slider. It catches kind of the middle of the plate. Nunez gave it a pretty good ride. Gentry's playing fairly shallow in right center field, but he gives it everything he's got trying to get back there. Smashed into the wall, just couldn't get back to get it.
So for just the second time in 2013, Joe Nathan not able to convert a save opportunity. And now with a runner at third and one out, we're going to have Brenton Lillibridge up there instead of Travis Hafner. Joe Girardi had Hafner in the on-deck circle as a pinch hitter, but now that the Yankees have tied the score and have the runner at third with one out, Lillibridge will get the chance to hit against Nathan. Rangers pulling the infield all the way in. Ball one. Tonight, the Yankees 3 out of 8 with runners in scoring position. The latest, of course, being the game-tying triple by Eduardo Nunez. Now Nathan facing Lillibridge. 1 ball and no strikes to count. Base hit to left field. Yankees take the lead 5-4 as Lillibridge drives home Nunez.
Good job by Lillibridge. He knew what his job was. He's got to make some contact. And he was able to do it. Second RBI for Lillibridge tonight.
Well, Mike Maddox on his way out to the mound, and get another look at that breaking ball that Lillibridge went out and hit to left field.
I don't think Joe's real happy with a couple of those low fastballs that were called balls, especially the one to Vernon Wells. Instead of a 2-2 count, it goes to 3-1.
Well, Robbie Ross heating up in a hurry out in the Ranger bullpen. Erwin Danley kind of half-heartedly headed out to the mound to see if he can break things up, but he didn't get close enough for anybody to give him a piece of their mind. So a couple of runs across here in the 9th inning for the Yankees, and as they call him the Sandman, Mariano Rivera loosening up in the Yankee bullpen. Milky Mesa is the hitter. The left fielder is 1 for 3 tonight. And a strike on the outside corner.
Oh, now it's a strike. Needed it earlier. If that's a strike. The other one should have been a strike. Same spot they were.
Mesa waiting. Nathan, a long set. Now goes to first base, and Lillibridge back with a dive. So Joe got the first out. He struck out Lyle Overbay to begin the inning, then walked Vernon Wells with a couple of close pitches. Went to 3-2 to Eduardo Nunez, and Nunez drove one to center field off the 404 marker for the RBI triple. And Brent Lillibridge singled him home. And the Yankees have a 5-4 lead here in the top of the 9th inning. Oh, 0-1 the count. Foul ball, diving stop by Profar. Across the diamond from his belly. Throws him out. Nice play by Jurickson Profar to get the out at first.
You're going to have a hard time scoring off Mariano Rivera, but if this ball goes down the line, the whole inning takes on a much different look. Already 2 runs in, but that saved a run and another guy in scoring position. Beautiful play by Profar. And a nice throw across the diamond, too.
Now we're going to have the pinch hitter, Travis Hafner, going to hit for Austin Romine. And with a runner at second, you either pitch very carefully to him or go ahead and intentionally walk him. We'll see what Ron Washington decides to do, and he's not going to have Joe Nathan work to him. He's going to have Robbie Ross come in out of the bullpen and work to the pinch hitter Hafner. So Joe Nathan, for only the second time this year, cannot convert a save opportunity. He's now 31 out of 33, and he will leave with Lillibridge, the runner at second, a couple of runs across. The Yankees have taken the lead, 5-4 the score, and while Robbie Ross comes in, we'll take a timeout. Be right back after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Doesn't happen very often, but Joe not able to convert tonight. Came into the ball game to try and get his 32nd save, and instead gets his second blown save. And now Robbie Ross working to Travis Hafner to try and close out the inning.
Well, Joe had to throw a lot of pitches in last night's game. He threw like 11 pitches to the first hitter he faced. And with 19 pitches, Wash just didn't want him to throw any more pitches tonight in back-to-back nights. And Robbie Ross will try to get Travis Hafner right here to end this inning.
Well, Ross came in last night's ball game, faced Travis Hafner, and got a huge double play ground ball from the DH last night. And the first pitch is a fastball for strike one. Hafner 1 out of 3 in his career against Robbie Ross. See the season numbers: .210 the average, a dozen home runs, 37 RBI. Got Littlebridge at second, 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning. And Ross now ahead of the count. No balls and 2 strikes. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th inning, it'll be the bottom third of the Ranger order. Morgan, Gentry, and Murphy. And facing Mariano Rivera. Ross with the 0-2. Now a ball and 2 strikes. The Yankees 5 runs on 8 hits. They have committed the only error of the ball game. The Rangers 4 runs on 6 hits. Littlebridge the lead from second. The 1-2 pitch. It's 2-2. Three-year-old from Lexington, Kentucky, Robbie Ross. Reading the signs from A.J. Pierzynski, and the left-hander's ready. Up the middle. Elvis flags it down behind the bag. Wow. On to first. What a play by Andrews on a rocket off the bat at Hafner. No, it's Mariano Rivera time as we head to the bottom of the 9th inning. The Yankees now leading 5-4. Mariano Rivera on now to try and get his 32nd save of the season. He inherits a 5-4 lead. And Rivera will face Moreland, Gentry, and Murphy. See the numbers on the ageless veteran.
Well, very similar to Joe Nathan's numbers. Rivera has said many times he's retiring this year. He wants to go out on top. He doesn't want to stay too long. He wants to be at the top of his game when he retires, and he certainly is, still at the top of his game.
Well, the 43-year-old Mariano Rivera. .639 saves in his illustrious career. Last year, of course, missing almost the entire season. Worked only 9 ball games. Had knee surgery and recuperate. This year, right back at him, 31 saves for Rivera. Mitch Moreland to start things off. Rangers now trailing 5-4. Moreland, of course, put the Rangers on top 4-3. With his 14th home run of the year, a 2-run blast. Back in the 6th inning. Moreland 1 for 6 against Rivera. Takes a strike. It is 1-1. Rangers at the top step, hanging over the rail, watching the great Mariano Rivera working here in the 9th inning. Rip and a foul back. Rich was thinking about putting the Rangers back in the driver's seat.
That's his trademark pitch. That ball hit Mitch off the fist. Throws that cutter in on the fist, one right after the other. We'll mix in something else occasionally, but that's pretty much what you're going to see if you're a left-hand hitter.
1-2. Got him swinging.
There's something different right there.
Something else.
Most of them are cutters in, and when he does throw the fastball, 4-seam fastball away like that, or maybe a 2-seam fastball, whatever it is, tailing down and away, that's just not fair.
Well, one away. Greg Gentry, the scheduled hitter, but Leonis Martin has been called upon to pitch hit. So Leonis been struggling of late. 270-60 average, 5 home runs, 16 driven in. Trying to get aboard so that the Rangers can at least get the go-ahead run, or the winning run, to home plate. Ball 1. Martin has not faced Rivera before. A ball and a strike. Target set outside. That pitch at the outside corner. It's 1-2.
You can't wait to call those pitches strikes. That pitch wasn't even close to being a strike.
Rivera's next pitch. Strike 3.
Keep throwing it out there. He just threw him 3 pitches. None of them were strikes. Joe Nathan threw 4 pitches in the bottom of the strike zone. They were strikes, and none of them were called strikes. Tough to hit with those pitches or strikes.
Well, the Rangers now down to their final out. David Murphy, who came on as a pinch hitter in the 6th inning and grounded out, is up there against Rivera. Ball 1. Murphy 1 for 5 against Rivera. Out of play to the left, then the count evens, and a ball and a strike. Outside and low, it's 2-1. If Murph can extend this inning, at the top of the order coming up after him. Ian Kinsler would be next. Ground ball to short. Nunez up with it on the first, and that'll do it. Mariano Rivera with his 32nd save of the year, and the Yankees come back to win a 5-4 victory in Game 2 of this set, and they even the series at a game apiece. Now Rivera gets a 1-2-3 inning here in the ninth, and the Rangers go down to defeat. 5-4 the final, and John Radigan, Mark McLemore back to wrap things up for you right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.